to all the hardworking eBay sellers out there. I'm Suzanne, and this is episode number 73 of eBay the Right Way. And maybe you can hear the incredible thunderstorm we're having right now. That is not a sound effect. If you heard it, that is real. Okay, today's date is August 10th, 2022. Today's guest is Christy in Florida, who is an everything seller. Before we get started, I wanted to mention KC in Texas, a different KC than the Lego and Recycling Center guy, who sent me this email. KC said, "Hi, Suzanne. Once again, I want to tell you how much I like your podcasts. I listened to some of the others, but yours is my favorite. I just started reselling a few months ago, and sometimes I get discouraged. But after I listen to one of your podcasts, I always feel better. I definitely enjoyed the one with Zach from Maine. Please tell me I am not the only one who thought he sounded just like Clint Eastwood. Every few sentences I was saying to myself, my gosh, he sounds just like Clint Eastwood." And yes, a few other people did say that, and that he had a wonderful voice for radio. So, Zach, if you're listening, maybe you'll get a kick out of that. Thanks so much for sending in that comment, Casey. And I love getting feedback on my podcasts. So if you like something, or even if you don't like something, please reach out and let me know. Okay, now for the chat with Christy.
Hello, listeners. Today we have Christy with us, and she is going to share some great information about some big sales she's had lately. So say hi to the listeners.
Hello.
And where are you located?
Right now I'm in Panama City, Florida.
That's where you live full time.
It isn't right now. Yep.
Really? Oh, good for you.
It is. Yeah. The beach. I mean, there could be worse. There's worse places to live for sure. The beach is nice and the weather's nice.
Did you move there recently?
Kind of. So we we RV'd full time for about 7 years.
Uh-huh.
But my family's here. Well, part of my family, my parents and one of my sisters. And so this was kind of like our official address and our landing spot. And so we would spend months here every year, and this is where all our stuff was stored and that sort of thing. But we were on the road and we were nomadic for 7 years. But for now, we've sold both of our RVs. Yes, both of them. And we're renting an apartment for right now, but
and
we'll
how
see.
Close are you to the actual beach?
Yeah. So about 20 minutes to the beach, 30 minutes. So it's not bad. I mean, there's water. If you look at a map of Panama City, there's like water everywhere. So we're actually really close to the bays and stuff. But if you really want to go to the beach, it's about 20 minutes. So.
Right. So Fort Walton is beautiful. It's kind of near there.
It is. Yeah. Our dentist is in Fort Walton. So we drive.
So you don't hate going there.
I do not. Actually, that Fort Walton Beach and Destin area, it's so beautiful. Just beautiful over there. Yes, I do not hate it.
My cousin lives in Columbus, and her husband is retired military and based at Fort Benning. And we used to go to that recreation area down there, Panama City. Do you know where that is?
The Navy one?
I think it is a Navy one. Yeah, but when you're in the military, you can go to any of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be branch specific.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, I've been there once because we have some friends in the Navy.
Yeah.
And so they were able to take us there, and he launches his boat off of there. So if it's the same one, we have been there once.
Yeah. It's right next to a bridge.
Yep.
If that means anything. It's because there are a lot of bridges there.
No, but I know what bridge you're talking about because it's the one you have to take to get to the beach.
It's right near the Air Force Base.
Oh.
Which I don't know how to pronounce.
Tyndall?
No, the one with the E.
Oh, Eglin.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Yep. So that would be out near Fort Walton.
So
That
it's
would be
kind of
that
like summer
direction.
camp. It's bare bones, it's not a lot of frills, but we would go with our kids and like all the cousins and our kids and just have a big family beach week. And it was just really inexpensive.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
when you're raising kids, you're poor,
Yeah.
you,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do big vacations sometimes, especially if you're stay at home, if one of
Right.
them stays at home. So, yeah, that's some good memories down there.
Oh, that's fun.
How fun to live at the beach. That's my dream.
Yeah, I love it. I will say that I always need to live near a big body of water. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be the beach, but either big lakes or a river or something. I don't know. There's just something about, I just like being near water.
I am so on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, and so we're gonna transition into the next topic, which is how did you get started on eBay?
Yeah. So I thought about this because I hear you ask everyone this. And I'm not 100% sure.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at my eBay, I've been on eBay since 2000.
Mhm.
So a long time. I haven't been a serious seller up until the last few years. But my dad, who is 84, 83, 84,
Uh-huh.
still sells on eBay.
Nice.
So, I mean, he's been selling on eBay for years. His specialty is toy trains. That's pretty much all he does.
Uh-huh.
And he used to do shows, like in-person train shows and stuff. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
so he still sells on eBay. My sister, the one who lives here, she also sells on eBay. She has done it full-time as a, full-time. She had a storefront. She sold for people, did a lot of consignment and stuff.
Consignment. Okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit of it in my family. And that's probably what got me started. I just don't remember like one moment,
Yeah, like the catalyst of like, we inherited a storage unit. We had to do something with it. Yeah.
Right. There wasn't that. It's almost just like it's in my blood kind of a thing. My dad's favorite line was, because he's always been in sales, right? It hasn't always been for himself, but he's always been in sales. So he always says, everything here is for sale except my soul and my wife. So that's how I grew up.
And for the right price, maybe those too.
Right. So yeah, so I am, every time I listen to one of your interviews, I just feel like I'm talking or listening to my people, because like I'll sell anything. If there's something in my house and it's worth more money, worth money, like, yeah, you can have it, buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Except my soul and my husband and my kids.
I'm not attached to a whole lot of things either. Because you just keep it moving. I mean, I have a few things from grandparents, not furniture, little tiny things, great aunt, that kind of stuff, and children's things when they were babies. Like, okay, you guys get to keep one blankie, one little plush stuffed animal, one of this, one of that, your hospital bracelet, and we're not keeping like every finger painting you did in kindergarten.
Yeah, no.
So,
No.
But I think reselling it's in your blood, it's in your DNA. Because I remember back to when I was in elementary school doing the lemonade stand and like collecting bottles and taking them to the grocery store and getting whatever 5 or 10 cents and just like anything like, how could I make money? I was one of 4 and we didn't have an allowance. You just had to hustle it, figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
So
yeah, I remember walking like up and down the side of the road and collecting cans with my brother.
Yep.
Because you'd recycle, but hey, we were doing good work too, right? We were picking up trash and making a little money recycling.
And there wasn't all this worry about, getting kidnapped and stuff like that, which, I mean, I'm sure that happened. But so what year were you born?
76.
Okay. So you're 10 years younger than me. So it's in the same general Gen X.
Yeah. Well, and my siblings are all, so my brother is 10 years older than me. So you and my brother are the same age. And then my sisters are 14 and 15 years older than me.
Okay.
So I was sort of raised more in their generation. So,
Mhm.
it's like, that's what my parents knew and that's how my parents were,
Mhm.
so I kind of feel like I'm in some ways older than I am.
Right. Yeah, because your influence in
Yeah.
your household was older. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah. Did you go to garage sales as a kid or a young person?
I don't remember going to many garage sales. I'm not sure why. My parents just didn't like them, or if it was really just money was that tight. So we weren't even worried about. My mom always sold clothing.
Mhm.
And she did like home parties, I don't
Uh-huh.
know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
Dutch made clothing.
No, I don't know that one.
It was out of Pennsylvania, Dutch made.
Okay.
And she sold that for years. So like the home party scene. And then she went on to work at JCPenney department store for like 30 years. So yeah, she retired from JCPenney. But so sales is also sort of in my family blood too.
So like at the mall, at the actual store.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
everybody's mom worked at the mall. And then when we were teenagers, we worked at the mall.
Yeah, I did. I worked at JCPenney.
Yep. My mom sold Avon. She did a lot of like part-time side gig things because there was 4 kids and there wasn't a lot of time, but like
Yeah.
sold Avon. And then I sold it as in like 9th and 10th grade. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
And then, yeah, my mom worked for Polaroid when they first came out with that, the cameras that, it was in the late 70s. And she would go to malls and places with a lot of people and like take their picture and then walk up to them and be like, oh, here's how this camera works. And, take pictures of them and give them the pictures so then they could think about buying that. So that was kind of a weird marketing method. But
that must have been really fun for her though, because people
worked.
were probably so excited by that back then.
Yeah. And like she would go to, Atlanta sporting events. Remember going to some Hawks games with her.
Yeah.
And, just taking pictures of the players with people and giving them the picture. And it was, Polaroid paid for it. That's how they did their marketing, was get these pictures in their hands so they can see how it works and show their friends. And, it's like the Starbucks cup. Everybody's walking around with one. That's
the Starbucks cups.
Yeah, that's their advertising. So anyway, okay, so you are a reseller from birth, basically.
Yeah, kind of feels that way.
So yeah, we are a very specific tribe.
Yeah.
Either people get it or they don't, or they kind of get it, but then it seems overwhelming, so they don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, and not to disparage anybody.
Right.
But I think that there are some people that want to get into it. And, I know you get this too. Whenever people find out you do it, so often you have people like, oh, tell me how, I want to do that. I'm like, okay. And I give them
to be honest, I have stopped telling people.
Oh yeah. I send them to you.
And it's like, I was at the pool a couple days ago and met some new people and they're like, well, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh, I do video and audio editing, like for podcasts and YouTube videos.
There you go.
Which is true. I do. Yeah. But that usually stops them right there because they're not going to hire me to do that. They're not interested in it. It's too technical. Sometimes I make up things like, oh, I'm a veterinarian. It's like, what am I going to be today? Or I make up some job that is so complicated, like they're not going to ask any questions because for the last 20 years, every time I try to explain it, either they have something they want me to sell for them, or they want me to explain it, but they don't want to go learn it. They just want somebody to spoon feed. Here's how you do it, X, Y, Z. And, or you spend an hour explaining it and then they say, yeah, that sounds too complicated. I'll never do that. And you're like, I just invested an hour in you. So it's better to say something like, yeah, I'm a pet sitter. Right. I did that once, but then they're like, oh, will you take care of my dog? And I'm like, oh, can't use that one anymore.
You have to find something, like you said, something so boring and obscure that no one
Yeah, I'm a
cares
seismologist.
or
I study earthquakes,
oh my goodness. That is funny.
So yeah, back to whatever question we were on.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't even know either. But I just think that some people, like you can tell if people truly have the passion that it takes to do it. And then there's some people that just think it sounds good, but don't necessarily really want to do what it takes to do it long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is just something, I guess it's like not everybody can be a musician, not everybody can be a writer, it's just.
That's true. That's true. But it's funny because I'll hear people talking like, young people that want a second job or retired people that want something to do. And it's like, I have the answer for you, but I don't want to explain it.
Yeah.
It's like anybody can resell on the side and as much or as little as you want to. Anybody really can. It's open to anybody. You don't have to have a college degree to do it. You don't have to, have all these requirements that you would to have an in-person kind of job. You could just figure it out in your spare time.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the great thing about it. Yeah. Anybody can do it.
Right.
Is anybody going to do it though?
That's true. Yeah, none of my 3 siblings care about this. They don't listen to any of my stuff, YouTube, nothing. And because they aren't into it. And I really think either I was switched at the hospital or like they found me in a box somewhere. Like I don't belong to this family because nobody thinks like me, not even my parents.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know where I came from, but
are you the baby?
No, I'm the second of 4. Yeah. So, yeah. But it is weird how we're all like they're totally more on board with corporate stuff.
Okay.
They want that 401k. They want that paid vacation. They want that security, which really these days is not security. Nobody's job is secure. And I'm like the one over here, like, nobody's ever going to fire me. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Nobody's going to tell me I can't try this. And I'm just over here doing all these experiments and figuring stuff out. So it's just, we're wired different.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't want to be told what to do.
So how is the thrifting garage sailing in Panama City?
It's interesting. This is not this isn't an area where people want to spend a lot of money on anything. And actually, I learned this lesson really well. So my sister and brother-in-law owned a company called Gulf Coast Salt Works, and they actually made sea salt. So they harvested water from the Gulf right here and made sea salt. And so my husband and I would help them out sometimes. And what I did with them was I went to shows. So she would do like holiday gift fairs and stuff. And so we would sample salt all day long and talk to people. But what I learned at those shows, there were a lot of artisans and other crafts people at these shows. And what you learned is that people around here just don't spend a lot of money on stuff. So you're not finding designer goods very often around here. So it's a lot of the mall brand clothes.
Do you think it's because there's retirees there that are more financially conscious?
This is not like some parts of Florida where it's heavy retirees. There's a lot of military here because there's a Navy and the Air Force base. 2 Air Force bases. There's one right here in Panama City, and then there's the one that you talked about in Pensacola.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it is. It's just not the culture here. So I don't find a lot of the high-end clothes, which kind of bums me out. But when I do find them, I'm extra excited. Right. Because the bonus that we have is the military. So there's people from all over the place moving in and out. And there's people that have lived overseas, which is fun. I find a ton of stuff from Japan here. So like vintage Japan, antique Japan. And our bins used to be a well-kept secret. And so I would find all sorts of fun vintage and antique stuff there. It is not so much a secret anymore. And it's very crowded, and I don't find as much there as I used to, but I do still go. So yeah, it's, I'm more of I have to focus more on quantity versus, every once in a while I look out and I find some really great stuff. But yeah, for me, it's more about quantity, I think, than the sort of higher end quality stuff, but that's okay. This is what I got. But when we traveled, we would thrift a lot. And luckily my husband and both my girls love shopping with me. So whenever we travel, we would go to estate sales and thrift stores. And so it's fun to go to different parts of the country and see how different things are. And 2 years ago, we spent 2 months in Asheville, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a ton of shopping there. And it's so funny how often the things that I bought in North Carolina go back to North Carolina. Like,
that's interesting.
Because a lot of the stuff I buy is more unique. It's not like, I try not to source the mall brand stuff, but yeah, so much of the stuff that I sell to North Carolina, I'm like, oh, I bought this when I was there. That's funny.
Yeah, that's how you make your money, is selling the unusual.
Yeah.
Selling things without a lot of competition.
Right.
Back in the day when eBay started and when I started, and it wasn't as well known, there weren't nearly as many sellers or as many items. I mean, you could sell anything, I sold a lot of Ann Taylor, J. Crew, those sort of better mall brands.
Yeah.
I don't sell any of that anymore. And, a couple of exceptions, but it's all about vintage and unusual, because you go to list that really nice wool tweed Ann Taylor blazer that is a very nice garment, retails for over $100, but there's 2,500 of them.
Right.
That's a different story than finding, say, a Chanel bedspread that's unique, has a unique pattern, or somebody had that. I can't tell you how much I'm hearing that now with all kinds of vintage clothing and housewares and plush is, I had this, my child had this, my mom had this, my grandma had this. And that's the hook. That's where you're going to get that customer, because there may not be any on eBay at that moment.
Yeah.
And you can name your price.
Right. Yeah. And it's the emotion. It's because it's emotional, right? They have an emotional, nostalgic connection.
Yes.
And they want that.
And I understand that, because I'll see things, I'm like, oh, we had that growing up, or my daughter had that, and it's just something inside you that just, it's like your soul talking to you.
Yeah.
It's it's different than just, how much clothing can you sell and how fast can you sell it? That works for a while, but it gets boring, and it doesn't, it's just like working for the man, going in and doing the same thing every day. And the reason we have this business is to do what we want.
Right.
So tell the bedspread story.
Oh, that was so fun. So I will, as part of the bedspread story is the thing that's nice about thrifting around here is that people around here aren't really into vintage much or the unusual. So that stuff gets left at the thrift stores for me. You know what I mean? Like somebody who has an eye and has the market, because I'm selling on eBay. Like I would never sell stuff. When my husband and I lived in Minnesota, where he's from, I sold a lot more of this stuff even on Facebook Marketplace, because people up there are there's much more creative culture, and people who appreciate kind of more vintage stuff and the unique and the odd. But anyway, the bedspread, I don't think that bedspread was probably appealing to anyone at my local Goodwill, because it is vintage and it is a bit weird. It's kind of outside the normal bedspread that you're buying at TJ Maxx or whatever. And of course I knew that chenille bedspreads did really well because of my research and your lovely BOLO book. So as soon as I saw it, it was one of those moments where you like have to pin, like hold your lips shut because you want to squeal with delight at what you just found.
Like the lady on the IKEA commercial. I always go back to her running out. Start the car. I just got away with something.
And it was huge. I mean, the thing weighed like 15 pounds, I think. It was huge. And they had it on one of those blanket hangers, you know, so I'm trying to wrestle it out to make sure it didn't have big holes in it. And it was pristine. It was pristine. There was nothing wrong with it. And I got it out and I looked it over, and it was only $16.99, which is high for bedding at this particular Goodwill, actually. But I was like, $16.99, I'll pay that. And so, I might have bought a couple other things that day, but I definitely made a beeline to the register with that and was so excited. And then when we got out to the car, I told my daughter, I was like, I can't believe what I just found. But she's 12, or she was 11 at the time. She was like, oh, okay.
But you said that you weren't even going to go there. She pushed you into it.
Yeah. Well, we went to the post office, and I was not planning on going to Goodwill that day, but she really wanted to go. So she sells online too. So sometimes we'll go, shopping. She'll want to go shopping for her or to buy herself. She loves clothes. So so we went to Goodwill, and I was just sort of half-heartedly looking around because I was just really going for her. I mean, I enjoy it too, but I wasn't like on a serious hunt. And there it was. So that was a nice little treat. And I got it listed immediately, and I got an offer right away for, I think I listed it really high for like 4 something. And I got an offer right away for 3 something. And the gal was a reseller, but she specializes in this type of bedspread, and she sells them on Etsy, but she cuts them and sells them like for upholstering chairs and stuff. And I almost couldn't bear the thought, because if it was tattered, that would be one thing, but it was in excellent condition. So I just countered her really high. I'm also, whatever. I'm not going to not sell to somebody. I don't ultimately care what people do with what I sell them, but there was a part of me that was like, oh, you can't cut this bedspread. But I countered her, and she rejected it. And so like, that's fine. And then within 24 hours, I got another offer that was totally acceptable. It ended up selling for $213. Yeah. So that was totally acceptable with a, no, I'm sorry. $350.
It was
$350. Yeah, $350.
It was over $300.
Yeah, sorry. That was another quilt that I sold, was $213. I have my notes here.
So I remember that because I was in the process of making the $100 sales video, picking out what I was going to put in it. And I landed on that sale of yours. And at that same moment, you messaged me on Facebook about this podcast schedule or something. And I was like, what are the odds that I'm looking at your sale? And it's not like we message all the time, just a random thing. Or maybe you had a question about something. I don't remember, but I was like, I can't believe you messaged me. I'm looking at your sale right now.
I know, that's wild. It's like we were connected there for a minute.
But it was over 300. I remember that.
Yeah, it was 350. It was my highest sale, but since then I have made another one even higher. But so that was nice. Got that shipped out, and it arrived safely. That's always that next, like, woo.
Yeah, hold your breath until it arrives, and then give it a couple of days, because are they gonna complain? Are they gonna not like it?
Yeah.
Return it.
I know a lot of people, that's their model, to only sell higher ticket things. Quite frankly, I'm happy with my model, where like once or twice a month I sell something that's higher ticket, and the rest of the time I'm in like maybe a $30 to $50 sweet spot, because I don't know that my nerves could take always having these big expensive things that I'm selling, I just, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's crazy to say, and maybe I would get used to it, but I don't know. They make me nervous.
I think as far as the mysterious algorithm people talk about, having sales every day helps, even if they're not $100 and over. And, you may have to wait 2 or 3 days for another sale, but I think those lower dollar ones, keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
They help.
Yeah, it certainly seems to. So I'm happy with my business model right now. So we'll see. It might change.
How many items do you have in your store?
I'm at about 140-ish. No, I'm sorry, 840-ish.
Yeah, that's a difference.
I don't know why 140 came out of my mouth there. 840-ish.
That's a lot. And do you specialize or no?
It is a lot. I specialize in things that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the things that I've learned over the past few years, is that if I buy things that I don't love, I'm not enjoying this as much. So my rule is kind of, would I wear this? Would I keep this in my house if it didn't sell? Do I like this? Unless I see something that I know will make money and I know will sell fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time I really just buy stuff that I love. So as far as what that comes down to, I do sell quite a bit of clothing. I love clothes. I know that people don't enjoy photographing clothes and measure. I love clothes. I enjoy it. I enjoy the process of cleaning them and photographing them. And I talk to my mannequin, and she has her own personality.
Well, I mean, and it's okay if people don't like clothes. More for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't buy, again, I only buy clothes that I like. And that's mostly linens and wools and cashmeres and, nice stuff, and vintage. I love vintage clothing and accessories.
Well, and back to what you like, I always think about, how am I going to photograph this? And some things are just a pain to photograph. Like swimwear is so easy. Bras are so easy.
Yeah.
But then I see sometimes jumpsuits. Or like they're so, if it's something that's going to make money, yes. I found a BMW like monkey suit, what the mechanics would wear, stuff like that, yes, or overalls. But they're making these Athleta and other athletic brands make these jumpsuits now, and I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a pain to really make that look good.
Yep.
And I don't mind ironing linen. I don't mind steaming clothes, but if it's something that is just like not going to be easy to make it look great, then I'm going to pass.
Yeah, because some jumpsuits just look like nothing hanging on the wall.
I know. It's just
like they completely, just like a straight piece of fabric almost.
Right.
Like totally loses. Yeah.
My mannequin doesn't have legs.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to present that well. So I gave up on pants a long time ago. I just don't like photographing them. They just all look the same to me.
Yeah, I do really well with linen pants though.
Unless it's like those Columbia, Patagonia, outdoorsy SPF pants with the zip off legs. Like it's something special.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I never find that stuff here. That's the kind of stuff that I never, like the outdoorsy, any of the Patagonia or North Face, any of those brands.
Uh-huh.
I would love to find more of those, but you don't find that much here.
Do you do swimwear?
I do some swimwear. It hasn't done great for me so far, but I still keep trying, especially if I find it at the bins and it's in excellent condition. I'll snatch that up. My daughter sells more swimwear. She likes the swimwear, so she does it. But for me, I'm looking for like the really like tried and true, like Land's End or LL Bean, or or some of the random luxury brands that go for high. I'll dabble in swimwear, but only if I get it at the bins or if it's something really fantastic, but it doesn't sell for me. So.
Okay. So do you do electronics or any like dishes, breakables?
Yeah, I do. I don't like electronics. I don't even really look at electronics. One of the challenges in your calendar was like to pick something that you never list and do it. And so that day or a day close to that, I saw just a basket of remotes at, I think a church sale or something. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to pick these up and just see what, oh gosh, it bores me. I don't even care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that challenge was more like just to get you thinking. It didn't have to be an item that you don't like, just that you've never done before.
Well, and it's not that I do really dislike, because I thought, well, remotes are easy and people have such good luck with them. And I thought, well, I'll try this and I'll research it. But I really, the lesson in that experiment was that I really don't like electronics and I just don't even care. So what do I do a lot of breakables. So I also love home goods, especially vintage. My sister and I always tease each other that like, hey, I bought another mug that's never going to sell today.
Just because I liked it.
We both love mugs, but they're slow movers, you know? And I don't buy just any mug. Most of the ones I buy are vintage or maybe like a souvenir from somewhere, vintage or not. There's plenty of mugs that do sell, but you really have to know what you're looking for. So I do sell mugs, but it is kind of a joke because they take forever to sell. And I'll do some decorative items. And I also love plush. So I do have quite a bit of plush. I've had to kind of slow down on buying plush because they take up so much room and I'm limited in space. So I need to sell some more before I buy any more, but I love plush. And I talk to the plush too when I list them.
Yeah, I have them around my home in different, like that sloth, that giant sloth. He sits by the kitchen table.
Oh,
it'd be lonely when he's gone.
But some of our Goodwills have those huge giant bins that like I would topple into if I tried.
Right, yeah. Like how you need one of those grabbers that you
get
that like when you have hip surgery,
right
over, and you know, to move them. But like ours are set up, we don't have the bins. So ours are set up in long rows of different levels of baskets.
Okay.
And I just work my way down the row and people will come up, start looking and like this lady came up one day and she's like, oh, here's a Beanie Baby. Here's this. Here's like, she's trying to help me because she could see I'm a reseller. And it was like, yeah, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, these are worth a lot. You know, like she knew it. She knew everything about it. Like, yeah, they're really not. But thanks for jumping in.
Yeah. Oh, that's how I am with my family sometimes. They're getting better, but sometimes they'll bring me stuff and I'm like, oh, thanks. No.
Yeah.
It's
hard to say no to people who are trying to help.
Right.
But then another time, this girl, she must have been in her mid-20s, handed me a singamajig. You know what those are?
I don't know.
I sold it last week for $25. It's
fun. It's
maybe 6 inches tall and it's mechanical. The mouth moves and it goes, you know, different. They're called singamajigs and they were out, I don't know, like 15 years ago, maybe. And I was surprised that it worked. And she's like, oh, here, you can sell this. And so I appreciated her.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. Is it an animal or is it?
It's like a little bear.
Okay.
He's wearing an Argyle shirt.
Okay. I'm going to have to look for these.
Singamajig.
I'll find one now. Do you ever find how that happens? Like as soon as you hear about something, you're like,
yeah. So let's talk about the Disney Lion King 4-foot long plush that none of us has probably ever found.
Let's talk about that. And then let's talk about Starbucks tumblers that not the ones that aren't worth anything. Let's talk about the ones that are worth $400.
I never see any of them at all. Like I look over that plastic section like crazy now.
Yeah.
I don't care about the breakables, all that glass. I don't care. I'm looking for the plastic.
Yeah, right? One of these days I'm going to find one.
Yes, you will. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe. I might have to go today just to.
Yeah. I'll be your virtual good luck charm.
Yeah. Well, again, my 12-year-old, she kind of is my good luck charm. So.
Yeah.
That's fun.
You should rent her out.
No, she's all mine. She is one of those kids though. Well, people, do you just know those people that just kind of get whatever they want? There's just something about them. It's like they're charmed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's charmed. She is. And she's charming. That might be why, but
good for you. That's
yeah.
a good treasure to have.
Yes.
No,
Well, you talked about your daughter and her kind of unique experience and figuring out a career and her school path and stuff, which reminded me of my 12-year-old because she has dyslexia. So, she's not going to take a standard career path, right? She's not taking, we've homeschooled since the beginning, so they're not taking standard educational paths either, but it was just encouraging to me, your video, because, I've got the same thing and I'm not discouraged by her, I'm okay with the fact that her life is going to be sort of outside the norm. I think that's good, but.
Well, what's interesting is Melanie took a second job in addition to working for me.
Okay.
And doing her own eBay. Because she just was like, this is too isolating. I need to get out in the world. I've been working at home for my entire adult life and I'm sick of it. And so she needs something else.
Yeah.
So they were opening one of those Once Upon a Child stores,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Literally a mile from where she lives. And she went in and applied and they hired her as a manager. Like,
oh, wow.
This was back in May. She's already gotten 2 raises and promotions and it could not be a more perfect fit.
Oh, good for her.
If listeners, if you don't know what that is, it's a children's consignment. It's in the same company as Plato's Closet and several other ones. She's like their star employee, has had to work through so many problems with eBay customers. It's not hard. Right. So the store opened last week. It took them 2 months to get it stocked and buy inventory from people. And they opened last week and sold like $26,000 worth on their first day.
Oh man.
It just great. Took off and she just loves it. And so for you people listening, if you have a child who is interested in the reselling process, there's jobs out there in the real world they could do in addition to the reselling part. Because, not everybody wants to do this full time.
Yeah.
It is isolating and emotionally draining, and being by yourself all day is not a great thing.
Yeah, for sure. You need that variety.
Yeah. So I was like, what kind of job do you want to do? And she says, well, I could do something no brainer, like a receptionist at a gym, that kind of job where you don't have to have a degree to do it. You don't have to have a whole bunch of experience. And her experience is what got her this job.
Right.
She was like, she just applied to it on, what is that site everybody uses looking for jobs?
Indeed.
Yes, Indeed.
Okay.
Yes, Indeed.
Yes, Indeed.
and she didn't even know what it was. And so I was just like, worlds colliding. This is the angels singing. She found something she loves and she has experience and she didn't even know it.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah.
I love
that. So maybe one day when your 12-year-old is ready to go out into the world, that college path is just not for everybody. The college path is for people who want to do corporate America.
Yeah.
Or want to be a teacher or, that kind of thing. And the world needs all kinds of people. Yeah,
for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, why spend your time and money and life in college when you don't even need it? Mm-hmm. Not always. She does want to do something in beauty. So hair, makeup, that sort of thing. So she might go to like a technical trade school, like a beauty school, for makeup or something like that. But honestly, I feel like what she's doing now in reselling is even preparing her for that, because she follows trends and she follows fashion. And so she's in that world already.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, something will pop up that will be perfect. And, if you look back at your life or talk to friends and it's like, oh, yeah, I have a degree in interior design, but I work in finance. Like
Yeah.
their degree didn't even get
Right.
them where they wanted to go, or they realized they couldn't make as much money as they wanted with that particular degree. And you're 18. How do you know what to pick? That's the way I felt. I'm like, I'm smart. I can go to college, and I was always on the dean's list, but like, I don't know enough about all these jobs to know which one to pick.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a big thing to commit to at that age.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, I do have a degree in interior design.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Well, that's why you like selling home goods and home.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and just like you said, I mean, I'm not working as an interior designer at the moment, but that education helps me because I know I can spot well-made things. I can spot trends, so it's certainly helpful to me.
Well, you know the key words of the different styles.
Yeah.
Designs. You already know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I worked in marketing, so I know what a keyword is. So see, it all comes together.
Yeah, that helps. I mean, I think every step you take in your life is useful at some point.
Yeah.
You may not see the value at that moment, but it all comes together after a certain amount of time, and like learning about something is never wasted.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You can always use it at some point. So I wanted you to talk about your other big sale that just happened.
The other one that just happened. So I found this, every once in a while, I just peruse Facebook Marketplace for fun. I mean, don't we all?
Yeah.
And someone had listed a Tiffany ring for $35. And at first I was like, well, this is just a scam, right? Because there's all sorts of weird stuff on Facebook Marketplace that I don't even know what people are doing, but I looked at it a little closer and it's looked legit, like you can tell by looking at stuff, there's little clues that it's a legit listing or it's a real person, or, so I thought, I have to go for this. I mean, it's $35. What have I got to lose?
I wonder if it was like a woman and the guy she broke up with gave that to her.
It wasn't.
She just like wants it out of her house.
Yeah, I guess she was just, so I drove out there. I put my daughters, and it's in a nice part of town too. So I was fine just going there by myself, and I threw my daughters in the car and we took off. And when I got there, it was a house that my husband and I had bought some furniture for our new apartment. We had bought furniture from them already, but just from her husband. So that's why I didn't realize that it was the same person. Okay. So yeah, she said she was just clearing out some jewelry and she didn't wear it anymore. And so I was like, okay, thank you very much. She didn't have any paperwork on it, but she told me where she bought it. And just in my own research, I could tell that it was real. And I wore it for a little while, but then in the past few months, I've lost like 20 pounds. And so now it doesn't fit any of my fingers. It's like,
congratulations.
Thank you. Doing keto, by the way, inspired by you partly.
Good for you.
Yeah. So you know how it is. It got like too big for the one finger, but it's too small for the other one. So I was like, whatever. And again, I bought it for $35 and could sell it for close to $400. So I was like, well, this needs to go on eBay. So I enjoyed it for a little while and then listed it, and it sold really fast too. But somebody in China bought it. And again, I was kind of nervous. I do use the international shipping program, again, thanks to you. I sort of broke my fear of that. And I also I've been buying quite a bit from Japan lately. So I think that kind of gets your comfort level up with that whole like international exchange.
Right.
It's not a big a deal.
Like it's going to work. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff happens, but stuff happens when you sell stuff, across the street too. So
to Alabama, I had it was like one state over and it was a disaster.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's worth it to me. And again, given the stuff that I sell, it's actually worth it to me to sell globally because I just want a bigger market. But, so anyway, yeah, I was a little nervous figuring out the best way to ship it and insure it and all that, but it did make it. I checked and it arrived 4 days ago and I haven't heard anything, which is a good sign. So yay. But anyway, so I paid $35 for that and it sold for $359. So
excellent.
Very happy with that one too. Yeah.
And I see you have a list there. Are there any other sales you want to share?
I do. Well, prior to those two, I had sold, this was a fun story. So I was at a Goodwill, and I walked by this big ashtray a couple times, and it caught my eye. But just, do things ever catch your eye, but you're like, whatever, it's probably nothing,
Yeah.
Well, then I walked by it, like, I don't even know, the fourth or fifth time I walked by it, I was like, I don't know, this thing just keeps calling to me, so I got to check it
You're
out.
drawn to it, so it must
Mhm.
mean something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good thing I bought it. I paid $6.99 for it, and it was like a collector's. It was this huge, heavy pewter cigar ashtray, and I know, but it. I sold it for $187 to a collector. So yeah, it was really cool. So I'm glad that like I paid attention to that little voice that was like,
Yeah. Was there any?
look at me.
Were there any markings on it?
Yeah, it was like branded. I can't remember the cigar maker, but it was from a maker, and it was branded.
Okay. It was probably like a promotional item, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But it was in the package too. I mean, the package wasn't anything fancy. It was like an open box with a cellophane wrap around it, but it was the original packaging. So that was nice. And then the other one that was one of my bigger sales, I found a soapstone walrus sculpture. Not very big, maybe like 6 inches big. And it was behind the counter at Goodwill. And so I had to be like, I don't like to announce the fact that I'm a reseller.
Just be like real casual about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my mom collects walruses.
Right? Something like that. So I'll be like, oh, can I see that?
Like, oh, by the way, yeah, my dad would love that.
I know. Yeah, I totally do that. Or I call my mannequin Dolly. And so whenever the girls and I are out, we'll be like, do you think Dolly would like this?
Right.
So
yeah.
That's our code word.
Yep.
Yeah. So I flipped the walrus over, and I was kind of talking to the guy behind the register. I was like, hey, do you know anything about this? That's curious. Like, what is this even made out of? So I pulled out my phone, pretending like I was looking it up to see what it was made out of. And I comped it really quick because it was $39, which is not a lot, but if I had zero clue if it had any value. And so $40, that's a lot to drop on
something. For 50, then no.
Right, exactly. Because I got to ship the thing too, and it was kind of fragile. But it was worth something, and it sold for $2.99. So that turned out to be a good one too.
You're doing well.
Yeah, and then my other favorite thing to sell is quilts, especially vintage and antique quilts. My mom is from Arkansas, and she has 6 sisters. She had 6 sisters. They're not all with us anymore, and they all quilted except my mom. But so unfortunately, so that didn't get passed down to me, but I still just have this love for quilts, especially the older ones and the ones that are completely done by hand. And I do really well with quilts. So my other really big sale was a quilt that I paid like $2 for, and it was completely tattered, and it sold for $2.13. So
nice.
Yeah. So those are probably my most exciting sales so far. There'll be many more to come.
Sounds like you're doing well in that location.
Yeah. Well, like I said, yep. It's not, sometimes I watch people's, haul videos or see what they get, and you feel a little jealous, but I don't know. Once you figure out where you live, you can find plenty of stuff to sell.
Well, and don't be jealous of haul videos, because
I know
you don't know when that person's ever going to list it. Like, it could sit in their storage unit or wherever they are for 2 years.
Right.
And so it's got to get listed to make money.
Yeah.
So just because somebody has something doesn't mean they're making money. And
right.
I guarantee you, haul video stuff, some of it's staged.
Yeah.
You don't know if they didn't buy that IKEA vase on eBay, and then they're out filming their haul, and then they just stick it there, and oh, look what I found.
Right. That's such a terrible thought.
No, it's not. It's real. And you know what? I was interviewed for a reality TV show back in 2011. It was when all that was getting started.
Yeah.
And it was going to be about reselling. And we did a Skype interview, and I explained how I do my business. And they're like, oh, so like you take a U-Haul to Goodwill and you buy a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm like, no, I cherry pick it.
Yeah.
And they had all these assumptions about reselling, that all of it is just this gigantic operation. And I'm like, no, people do this from an RV. People do this from a boat. People do this from a 1-bedroom apartment. You don't have to have, and I was educating them on the facts of reselling.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2 other people on the Skype call, and they kept looking at each other, and they're like, yeah, that's not really what we're after. And I said, well, if you're after reality, this is the reality. And is your show going to be manufactured reality? And they said, well, yeah, that's just not what we're looking for. And to be honest with you, you're just not interesting enough to be on TV.
Oh, no.
And I think I cried for 3 days. I was, they don't think I'm interesting. I'm trying so hard to be interesting. So, and then later on, as these shows progressed, then you got the backstory of how they make them.
Yeah.
And it's not reality. It's a lot of it's made up, and YouTubers do it too. I'm not calling out anybody in particular. I'm just saying that you don't know what happened before they turned on that camera.
Right.
They could be staging all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that's why I always focus on what sold in my videos. I will never do a haul video, because it doesn't matter what you found. It matters, what did somebody pay for it?
Right.
That's all we really care about. Yeah.
And I don't really watch them anymore. I used to when I first started, but now I've come to see, like you said, like there's not really a lot of value in seeing what somebody found. I mean, sometimes it's kind of fun, but that's not where the education is. The education is seeing what somebody sold. Yeah.
And then the backstories they give on the group with, I got this for $1, and I was at the end of the sale and it was still there. And that's what I love to hear. That's the motivating part to me, is the challenge of the leftovers. It was the last day of an estate sale, and this was still there.
Right.
That's what gives you hope and motivation, because you can find anything anywhere at any time. You don't have to be there on the first day of the estate sale. You don't have to be there when Goodwill opens.
Yeah.
Stuff is just everywhere.
It is. So. I take the same approach at the bins, because you know how they switch out the bins. So you've been to a Goodwill outlet before? I know you don't go.
I have seen videos. I have never been to a bins. No.
You really have to go.
I need to find one to go to. There's
come down to the beach. Come down to the beach. You can go to this one. So they swap out the bins, but the rule is when they're taking out a row bins, you have to stand back. You have to stand like behind a line, and nobody can shop the bin until they bring them all out and the employees step away, and then they give you the all clear. And then people like dive in like vultures. It's insanity. Unless I happen to catch something, which I have a story about this, but unless I happen to catch something that I really want, I take that as my opportunity to find a quiet corner, because all the vultures are over there. Mm-hmm. So the same thing. I know that even though this one bin has been picked through for hours, I could still find a $300 fur coat, or, there still might be something in there for me.
You can find the Fisher Price, or is it, what's the brand where it's the grandma, the little toy,
the little people,
grandma, like she's worth a lot.
Yeah, you never know. Right. Or a Starbucks tumbler at the bottom of a bin. I will every once in a while send my kids, because they like it. They like digging through the brand new bins. They like the chaos. I don't like the chaos. I don't want to be touched by other people. I don't want to be elbowed by other people. I'm not aggressive that way. I would like even Black Friday sales back in the day before the internet. I was scared to do that, because people are getting beat up and they're calling the police to Walmart, and I'm not doing that. I am just not aggressive enough to fight somebody for something. Yeah, it's totally not worth it. It's just a thing in the end. I'll just go over here where I'll zig when y'all zag, and I'll go find stuff over here, and I always find stuff. Yeah. But I will tell you, so the story about when I did jump on the bin that just came out, I caught out of the corner of my eye, one of those giant vacuum space bags full of what I could tell from far away was really nice vintage plush.
Mhm.
And there was some mink stuff in there. I thought I had a Stife, but it wasn't. I mean, like
Oh.
really nice vintage, like an adult's very nice vintage plush collection.
Mhm.
And I grabbed that. And actually the best thing that was in there was a little, Garfield's little teddy bear Pookie.
Uh-huh.
There was a little tiny vintage Pookie, but Pookie had a 14 karat gold bracelet wrapped around his neck.
I
So,
have one of those for sale. I didn't realize
you
that Pookie went with Garfield.
oh yeah, it's Garfield's little buddy.
Okay.
I sold my Pookie, but the best part was that gold bracelet, and it was kind of beat up, so it was just worth the gold, right? But I recently traded that gold, I just sold that to a gold dealer for like 60 or 70 bucks.
Nice.
So that was a nice little cherry on the top of that bag full of plush.
Yeah, I do like those grab bags if they're priced well enough to take a risk.
Yeah. Well, this was the bin, so
you always get home and find stuff in the middle that you can't see from the outside. And sometimes, well, that's Lalique Lion I sold, gosh, I think it was like 2018 or something. It's on the cover image of one of my sales updates.
Okay.
It was in the middle of a bag of junk, just like a sandwich baggie with just I bought it for the hotel toiletries.
Oh, nice.
And this was in the middle of it. And it sold for around $100. It was a little red glass Lalique lion, like the Chinese looking lion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
That hooked me to like, oh, what's in these bags? What's in here?
I know. I love those. You got to be careful with them because I've bought some that of course are worth nothing and you just donate them back. I had one that worked out though. It was a bag full of clothes and it was jam packed. So I couldn't tell if it was doll clothes or baby clothes. And the only tag I could see was clearly baby clothes. And it wasn't worth anything if it was, but some of it looked like doll clothes and some of it looked like quality, like it was maybe, what are those American Girl, right?
Right.
It was $5.99. So I took a chance on it. And sure enough, everything but that one tag that I could see was all doll clothes. I made probably $200 on all that stuff because it was American Girl. It was Build-A-Bear. Some of it was just generic, but it still sold really well. So again, yeah, you get hooked on those little bags.
Well, I don't see them very often here. I found a few, but they are intriguing. And I always try to flip it over and look around, like what's in here? Is there anything worth it? And then I'm just not going to open it and then leave it behind. I'm with you. I think it's rude. They're pretty cheap. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, we are getting to the end here. So the last question is, what advice would you give to other sellers just getting started or in any situation really?
Yeah. Well, I think mine is probably more for people just getting started because I feel like I'm just getting started still, but and this is based on maybe my regrets, but my first bit of advice is don't let the death pile up.
Mm-hmm.
I have way too much unlisted stuff and it does feel like a burden. And I'll be really glad when it's all listed. I don't shop as much as I used to or would like to. And every once in a while I'll give myself a month of no shopping. My issue is though, my 11-year-old will drag me to Goodwill and I'll find something that sells for $350. So, it's kind of nice. It's not like I have a death pile full of super valuable stuff, so sometimes I will let myself go shopping, but I'll only buy stuff that's really going to sell, for more. So that's my first bit of advice. Just don't let it happen. Just don't let it pile up because it just snowballs and you'll regret it if you let it pile up too much. And the second bit of advice I have, because I want to scream this to people sometimes on the internet, is don't be afraid to invest in the right tools. Like a thermal label printer will change your life.
Mm-hmm.
It saves so much time. And your time is valuable, right? Like printing out a label and cutting it and taping it or whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
make some sales, get a little bit of money in your account so you can invest it back in your business, but go ahead and it's okay to invest in the right tools. The other thing that I bought that I just love is one of those box sizers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, saves so much time. Like when I got that thing, every time I use it, I'm so grateful that I'm not just like cutting and measuring boxes, and because it really does, it saves you time and it saves you money. Just cutting down boxes alone saves you money,
Right.
So that you have the right size box. So yeah, those are my two.
Meaning that your shipping cost is less because there's less cardboard because the box is smaller. So
right,
you could just use a box that's too big and then you fill it with filler. That's increasing your shipping cost. Whereas if you have this box resizer, and you can look it up on Amazon, listeners, it's called Box Resizer. And you can use that to make the box exactly what you need. And you're going to pay a little bit less in shipping because it's going to weigh less.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like yesterday, I used a box and put in all the information and the shipping, because of the size of the box, it was too big, but I thought, well, I don't care. I'm not going to take the time to cut it down unless I have to. And the size of the box made it like $21 to ship it. And I was like, crap. So I played with the numbers a little bit. And I was like, well, if I cut 5 inches off the top of this box, is that going to change the cost of shipping? And it did. It went from like $21 down to $12 just by me taking like 3 or 4 inches or whatever off the size of the box.
Right.
And then it weighed less too. So, I mean, those little things like that, if you can do them quick, that saves a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are great tips. All right. Well, I'm glad we finally connected. We had a little hiccup on our first try, but life happens and you just keep going. So,
yes.
Thanks so much for coming on, and
thank you.
Will watch for your sales on the Facebook group.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, Christy, for making time during your schedule to chat with me and record this podcast. Today's trivia question is, what great archaeological discovery was made 100 years ago? Actually on November 4th, 1922. Here are 5 seconds to think it over. The answer is King Tut's tomb. This blurb is from National Geographic. On November 4th, 1922, a team headed by British Egyptologist Howard Carter began excavating the tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Tutankhamun, named King Tut, was an Egyptian pharaoh who ruled from 1333 BCE, when he was just 9 years old, until his death in 1323 BCE. After he died, Tutankhamun was mummified, according to tradition, and buried in a tomb filled with artwork, jewelry, and treasures. Shifting desert sands quickly hid the tomb, and it lay mostly hidden for more than 3,000 years. On November 4th, Carter's team found the first step of a staircase. The next day, his team exposed the whole staircase, and by the end of November, an antechamber, a treasury, and the door to the tomb itself were uncovered. After making a tiny breach in the door, Carter saw a room filled with gold treasures on November 26th. But it wasn't until much later that the sarcophagus containing Tutankhamun's mummy was revealed. And if that wasn't enough, here's a little side note about Egyptian tombs. Pyramid architects also tried to trap robbers in the tombs by making it like a maze. If you look at cross sections of the underground tombs, the layout looks very confusing. Tomb architects made false entrances to confuse grave robbers. False doors and passages inside the pyramid lead to rooms that were empty, filled with rubble, or had other traps in them. Multiple passages were built so the robbers would be lost inside the pyramid for a long time and maybe even die in them. And yes, archaeologists have found skeletons and human remains in these tombs because grave robbers couldn't get out and they eventually just starved to death or died of natural causes in there. Fake doors were made which opened to a blank wall behind it. Doors were built of very heavy granite, so the robbers had to be strong and put a lot of effort into opening them. The room containing the coffin and wealth was built a long way from the entrance to make it very hard to get to. Even if the robbers stole the goods from the tomb, they would have to find their way out of the pyramid again, navigating through the crazy maze of passages built throughout the pyramid. So yes, I saw that on the History Channel a couple weeks ago and thought that was some cool information. So now maybe you know more about Egyptian tombs than you did 5 minutes ago. Okay, we have come to the end. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll be back next week as usual. Happy selling, everyone. Bye.